I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 on a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence, then let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I came to play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me, then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to the one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke, I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 on a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything.
Not in his class or barely in his class. I can see him fighting some of those young dudes, but I don't think we want to see him go for the title. I mean,
yeah, no.
But it's different from like George Foreman, because George Foreman, every time he was out there, I thought he was gonna die. Like he was barely, like he in better shape now than he was 20 years ago. Like this dude was just a big tub of goo out there, and just he looked helpless, man.
Well, didn't he make a grill?
Yeah, he did.
So I guess that kind of adds credence to that. He's a big tub of gel out there. He's like, so of course when he gets out of his boxing career, he's like, you know what I should make? A grill, because I'm hungry. You know?
Yeah, man. But it's different with Tyson though, because Tyson actually go being decent. He's in great shape, man. His dieting and probably the marijuana is he looks real good.
Yeah,
so
he does. I just don't want to see. What I don't want to see is, like, I don't want him to go out. Like, if they get, like, say, an age bracket, and they say, okay, 45 and up, let's go out here and raise some money, or, if that's going to be the competitiveness part of it, I don't want to see him get in the ring with somebody that could, actually furthers that damage, because we know what happens to boxers, bro, down the line. Mike seems like, his normal self. But I don't want one of those punches, he gets in there with somebody and they connect with a punch, and then he's got that issue too. I think Mike's in a good space. And when he gets into that fighting, bro, he's an animal. Even at this point in his life, it might send him back into a whirlwind or something. That's what my concern is.
Yeah. Is it worth sacrificing like his inner peace to get back in the ring? I mean, is it Mike who wants to go back in the ring, or is it just
I think it's just talk. I think it's just talk. I think Mike will do some charity box, like you're not really fighting, you guys just go out there and spar. I think he's with that, but I don't think he wants that energy.
Yeah.
I would trainings look hard. Like when I was train, that's I was sketched out. Like I was like, oh boy, I wouldn't want to fight him. But go ahead.
Right. I wouldn't mind watching him fight someone his age though. Like if Holyfield, because that's the rumor Holyfield is talking about. Well, if he making a comeback, I make one too. If they want to do Holyfield 4, then yeah, cool. We'll watch the old heads go with it.
Let's get it, because and Holyfield might be mad because remember when the COVID first came and they had the meme of the way where he couldn't put the other side of the mask on and he was hanging. He's like, thanks, Mike. That might give him a little. He might come out there with some energy off of that one.
I want to say I didn't watch the whole thing, but Mike interviewed Holyfield. They had a sit down not too long ago. They did, right? Yeah, okay. I thought I was saying that right.
Yeah, on his show. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Mike Tyson's show. What is it called? The smoke box or something like that? Yeah. I like hot boxing. Hot boxing.
It got a lot of traction right away. Like he didn't start off at 10,000 views. It was up at like 500,000, 600,000 views first episode 24 hours later. And then it just kept going. And he brings in a lot of good guests, people that he had animosity towards. He comes in and they sit down and they talk it out and stuff. It's a great thing to see where Mike is right now. Very.
I mean, he's just like Joe Rogan, but the black version. So
yes, he can talk
crazy.
about.
Yeah,
he can talk about pretty much anything.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? Dev, Coach, you know who it be. We are here live with you guy Melvin Wall, the Man Down Podcast, friend of the show for a long time. How's it going, Melv?
Hey, good Saturday morning, or well, it's afternoon now, and the weather is great out here in sunny California.
Yeah. Here he goes. He's gonna rub it in. Literally, there are dark clouds looming over my head right outside my window right now, and you're like, "Oh, it's beautiful out here. It's fantastic."
It is.
And whatever. Enjoy your time in Cali. We'll be coming out, Mel. We told you this. We're coming over. We're gonna crash your house sometime. We're gonna be there.
I'm gonna be ready for it, man.
But
be ready for it.
Regardless, now we're gonna get into several awesome topics today. But Melv, I want to start with you because this is something you guys were talking a little bit about Man Down the other night, about what the NBA and sports is going to look like post-COVID quarantine. Because there's rumors of restarting the NBA season and all kinds of different procedures they're going to implement, rings and all kinds of stay in a bubble and do all that jazz. I want you to give your opinion here and talk to me about what you think of sports starting up again.
Oh, man, that's right out of the gate. You want me to go there?
I do.
Well, so I'm on the side of the unpopular opinion, and I could care less about sports resuming. I really don't think that the times call for it. I think it'd be socially irresponsible to try to concentrate on sports and then kind of like distract everybody away from what's going on. But I do get the other side of the coin where people feel like, we need a distraction, or like we need something that's normal. We need some type of entertainment, just to die everything down. But I don't think we need everything to die down. I think we need change, radical change, and not the usual, breadcrumbs to change, where that long process, gets deterred somewhere or gets so your energies go to all these other places and you never actually get the change that you want. So I'm not for it. If it comes back, I would half-hearted pay attention to it. Or I might not pay attention to it at all. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hold on for a second. You doing a sports podcast. If they came back, you're telling me you're not going to pay no attention to what's going on? Come on now, Mel.
Like I said, half-hearted, or not at all. Because I do have a sports podcast, but like I always say, we haven't been talking about that much sports for several months, and I always say, look, it is socially irresponsible for me to ignore what's going on in our nation. So. Yeah, it's a sports podcast, so you come from the sports, but you're gonna get all this other stuff that's on my mind too.
Yeah, right. You got to be able to share that opinion. Hey, we got some people out there in the chat. Hey, feel free to drop your chats and take care of the things in the chat for us, please, guys. I appreciate it. Now, real quick here, Melv. Now, you brought up a good point about saying that you feel like you don't really care if sports come back, and I have to be honest with you, as a lover of sports and of football, at this point, I think you're right. I don't really think sports is a good thing to come back right now, especially with all the information that we don't have about COVID and also using people as the sacrificial lamb of the entertainment industry to say, oh yeah, no, we need entertainment again, get back out there and play. I just think it's silly. Some of the again, this is the one I thought was interesting, the ring. They want to use a ring, which again, I understand how the ring works. They're going to use it to like detect basically patterns in your heart rate and your temperature and say, oh, or you have a fever. And, as I joked around in your chat the other day and said, they don't want an MJ flu game, that's what it is. But realistically, so that way people couldn't say, oh, I'm feeling under the weather or they couldn't lie about it or keep playing, just be like, oh no, I'm fine, I don't have COVID, because that could be a real possibility for some people. I think that there could be some players who are like, oh no, I'm actually fine, this is nothing, and then they go out on the court and then of course spread COVID, just like how we had what was his name? Who was that first NBA player that had it? And then he joked.
Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, Gobert was like, he started spreading it around the microphone and all that stuff. which was kind of childish at the time. But regardless, I do think it's very interesting, to say the least, that I think it is interesting, to say the least, that I think people want sports back so badly are not the ones that are out there playing them, and they're just like, we need a distraction. And I get what you mean by normalcy, but what is that normalcy cost us if
I know, I think it would go to
get affected, like the people that we watch every year in, year out are affected?
I guess it would probably depend on what, like, I don't like how they're just slopping together, throwing together the end of the NBA season. I think they should just call it. As far as like football, I don't think college is going to work. It's going to cause a problem. NFL, you could probably get away with it, but I wouldn't have no fans. I would just say right now, we're not having fans no matter what. We'll wait down the line, maybe week 8 or something. We'll do a check again. And just get something out there. I know about the distraction part you're saying also too, Melvin. And sometimes, like, I look at a lot of things like overstimulated if we get too much of something. But I don't think like watching a Sunday game that we're so used to year in, year out, like, it's a big part of our thing, because on Sundays, you kind of take your day off to regather everything. I just say for me, I would think like people that in my lane, like, I just take Sundays off and regroup, and it's just been a big part of it. And then I also be game planning out my week and the things that I got to look at and go back and attack on a Sunday.
Doesn't it hurt that regroup process when the Steelers lose?
Yeah.
Doesn't it hurt that process? Like the next day, because I remember, bro, there'd be days like Monday we're ready to do Bridging the Gap, and coach is like, man, he's down in the dumps because the Steelers lost. He's like, bro, duck. He's like, that's the first thing he comes in and starts talking about is duck and all the backup quarterback. Who was it? Duck and Hodges. Oh no, Mason Rudolph. Yeah, Duck was his name was Hodges. Okay, I got you. But yeah, like I said, like, that's funny. Go ahead, Coach. Sorry, I just thought that was funny. I had to cut in and say that.
No, you're good. You're good. So it goes to the fact, like, that's pretty much what I was saying. Like, I think it should go into that. So I think we all got that COVID thing and understand. Like, I don't think about risking anybody. I just say no fans. But if those players want to play and they want to earn their check and go out there and do it, let them. I think it's their, if the ones that don't, they just don't get their agreement on the thing, and then plug somebody in there and go ahead. Maybe you'll find a star. So that brings me to a question, since we're in the NFL, like, did you select, even when they get started, you said you're not going to, you're going to half-heartedly do it, but did you finally pick up a team? Come on, man. Are you going to root for? Is there a team?
Right, because remember last time you said about Carolina? He said, go ahead, sorry, I'll let you answer.
All right, so I'm gonna answer that second. I'm gonna address something you said about starting the NBA first. You can't hear me, Dave?
Yeah.
No, I'm wondering. Wait a minute. Wait. We asked you a direct question. Hold on. He's obfuscating. No, I'm playing. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna get to it.
But we haven't forgotten.
Yeah. No, I'm about to get to it. But I do want to say the reason why it's important for the NBA players, to boycott is because, and it's sad but true, our NBA players are the most respected Black people in America, our entertainers, sports and entertainment. They're the most respected. America respects their opinion more than our politicians, right? So like that's the only leverage we have, right? So we got to rely on them to boycott for us. Me boycotting, if I work at Target, nobody notices that, right? So there's nothing that the little guy can do too much as far as boycott. We can't force any change, but the main way for us to do it is to boycott something like the NBA or NFL, because that directly hits pockets of millionaires and billionaires that have phone numbers on speed dial of other politicians and lawmakers and people in the judicial system that they can actually talk to and say, look, we got to do something. Seriously. We got to help our Black brothers and sisters out, man. This is ridiculous, right? We don't get that. We lose all that leverage the minute you start playing. Period. All right. But back to the NFL and the and me not having a team. No, I'm never going to have a team. I told you look, I'm telling you, come on the other side with me. You will enjoy sports way more when you don't have an emotional tie to it. Trust me. It's way better as just a regular spectator.
Now,
I won't be disappointed on Monday mornings, is what you're saying.
right. Yeah, like I said, Ryan says, here's some positive energy for y'all. Good discussion and points. Thanks, Ryan. We love you, man. And shout out Court. We see you out there. Now, real quick, I gotta go into this about favorite sports teams. Now, I think you can have a favorite team and still be objective. Like you can be like, my team lost. Like, dang, that sucks. But still look at like the broader spectrum of sports and say, like, oh, I want to see this game because it's a better matchup or so on and so forth. Like because I know I watch a lot of sports teams and a lot of sports shows where they are so mad and coach can tell you all about it. Where like they talk about their team from like a perspective that's so delusional because all they see is their team, no matter what. It's almost like tribal, and it's like I would say my fan viewership to them right there, right? That it's not like tribal. Like I'd be like, damn, like they lost, or whatever. But like I'm not gonna like start punching stuff and throwing TVs like I was watching some kid on YouTube the other day, like literally threw his TV across the room because the Warriors were losing or something like that. I forget what it was. It was like a react video from like back when was it the Warriors in Cleveland were playing? That was that year they won. The Cavs won the NBA thing, and the guy like throws he like literally grabs the TV, unplugs it from the wall, and chucks it across the room.
I seen that. Seen that.
Yeah. So like I said, like
that's Lauren. That's Lauren. That's Coach right there. Coach said he did that before.
Bro, I told you what I did. I'm not going to get into it again, but I told you what I actually did once before. And that's facts. And that was just craziness.
Right. We have the tape. I forget what episode it is because we had a post talk where we talked about sports after we did an episode of the show. And I remember that. It's there. It's out there. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. So look, think about it. How from my perspective though, Dev. So, my co-host Corey is a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, and when I say diehard, I say diehard, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to have a conversation with a fanatic about sports when it's dealing with their team. Objectivity goes out of the window, right? You will have a conversation with someone about their team, and they will literally call bad football good football just because it's their team that's playing it, right? They literally make excuses for their favorite quarterback from their favorite team, knowing that he ain't built like that, right? Those conversations are very hard to have with fanatics, and I just choose not to be one.
Are you referring to a certain quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys? Maybe.
Yeah.
In that talk?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like the late great Whitney Houston said, Dak is whack. or something like that.
I love it. We're getting smoke out here. We're giving the smoke out here to all these Cowboys fans. No.
Is that what she said? Is that what she said, Lauren? Dak is whack. Or did I hear that wrong?
Oh, maybe it was crack. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's going into that stuff like that. See, the sports and all that brings me to like, I've been watching what's been going on. You guys touched on it a little bit a couple weeks ago, I think, about the what's happening with NCAA college basketball. We know we're probably not going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that this year unless they have no fans. Like I said in college, it's just too hard to control. It's you have a college town that's all. They wouldn't be able to control it. So I think that they if they do it, they'll do it without fans. But going into this, like we seen last year, that what I seen out of it is what they called the Rich Paul rule. Do we think that these guys, like the power that LeBron and what he's building has, that he could he could make college go away, honestly, to the top athletes and get them into like a G League and something that they own?
Yes and no. I think he got not just LeBron alone. I think just the movement itself has the potential to do that, but you got to understand it's not going to, that system that's been on top for so long is not going to go down easily. So they can make rules to where it favor them more, just like they did with the Rich Paul thing. They can make rules, or like we also talked about with college sports about black athletes going and attending historically black colleges instead of the big universities. and help put some money into the pockets of some of those colleges. And people don't understand that, the NCAA itself has a board of governors where they can actually decide where money goes. So you could make that move and you can make that move and change or buck the system and change it temporarily. But all they got to do is make some laws or make some more rules that's going to favor them better. So it's very hard. You could do it. It's just going to be a fight.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's just a good idea, though, in general, if you're trying to talk about, helping build generational wealth and better lanes of communication within the black community. Going to those schools and making those commitments. I mean, these number one top tier basketball athletes coming out of high school go into these historically black colleges. And, of course, then, like you said, getting the money and getting the NCAA to then have to more so, I guess, recognize and put money in the pockets of these schools. Kind of like how you look at a lot of these Big Ten, big organizational schools, especially in basketball, though, because basketball in the NCAA is a lot different, I think, in terms of football. Because we've seen in March Madness some of the lower tier teams in the lower tier schools in the nation go very far.
Cinderellas.
Cinderellas, right, exactly. So
right.
I think that would be a good way to put them schools on the map and again give them a better advantage. I look forward to seeing that. I hope it does actually go through and that happens. Because I think there does need to be change at the ownership level and also at the law level and the policy level for a lot of these sporting. And not just at the college, but also the professional level.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Go ahead, Mel.
No, I was just saying I agree.
Like you just mentioned about the HBCUs, you have Mikey Williams, which is when he's 15 right now, but he's being looked at by everybody across the nation, So he came out a little while ago and talked about that he's considering on going to an HBCU, which I think is smart because you're looking at these things. If you let's talk about the last start. Zion Williams, he made Duke $5 million. Like his projection was bringing in $5 million just him alone. You know what I mean? So they're starting to understand that value coming out of high school where the boosters coming around and sliding that money and anything. Now the kid can actually just bypass that and go to the G League. Now, what's important about this, why I brought up Rich Paul and LeBron James, because I think they have something to do with this new team that Jalen Green, Isaiah Todd, those two high schools that are coming out, they already agreed to go to the G League, to a team that's in Los Angeles and has no affiliation to an NBA team or a G League team. So I think they have something going where they're just like, oh, you want to play that game? Because I seen it. As soon as a week later, the Rich Paul rule went away. So they were scared. They didn't want to start that problem where it was like, we can go get these top athletes from you. We know what's going on now. And I think that's something cooking right there in LA that they got that we just don't know about it yet. That's what I'm seeing.
I wouldn't put it past him, man. Look, LeBron and his team, they be making some moves. They make a lot of moves. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the truth. What made you think that they had something to do with it, other than what you just said?
I could just see the vision. I can see, how you could just watch how somebody moves. LeBron moves like, I'm not doing something just to do it. I'm doing it that we own it. Whatever I'm going to do, we own. And we're not going to run around and make Facebook posts and brag about it. We're just going to work. And then when the ink is dry, we're going to let you know what we're doing. And I think that they have that power. I think LeBron has way more power than Jordan at this particular point in his career. He's going to surpass him right away when it comes after he, gets out of the NBA and he really throws out his plan on what he wants to do, which I think is in media. And I think is in sports. I think he's going to do whatever he can to make sure that Rich Paul's company blows up. I'm sure he has a partnership in it. And Rich Paul has got to be the luckiest dude on this planet to run into LeBron James in an Akron airport, and now you're one of his greatest friends. And come on, man.
Is that the shake of disagreement? Is that the shake of disagreement from Melvin Wall?
No. That's the shake of I'm amazed at LeBron, man. And he's got two moves that I can think of that I that I didn't like. One was that dumb decision broadcast that was retarded. And two was that lifetime contract that he signed with Nike. I mean, just for all the reasons you said, he makes moves to where the fact where, hey, look, if I make this move, I'm gonna own it. This is gonna be me. And I don't think he did that with Nike. I think the better move for him to do was not do what Michael Jordan did, because Michael Jordan has Jumpman, so he's he has his own thing, but it's somewhat affiliated with Nike. He wasn't able to make a deal to where the retro Jordans was under his Jumpman brand. The retros are still under Nike, but all the Jumpman, the Chris Pauls, the Melos, all those shoes that Michael Jordan, Ray Allen, all those guys that Jordan is signing in the Jumpman, that's him, right?
Right.
LeBron James could have did the next best thing and had his whole brand by himself, where he would be competing with Nike and Jumpman, and instead of getting paid a big check from Nike and Nike having him for a lifetime. I think that was a bad move on his part.
Yeah,
not the greatest move out there. So now we're talking about people starting up businesses and the disadvantaged, I guess, heading to a level of providence, I guess. So we were talking about this UN meeting for reparations. Now, I don't know the specific details, and I'm sure, because I didn't get the chance to actually sit down and watch the stuff, even though I shared it and put it out there. But I'm sure Melvin has a lot of information on this, because I believe our first episode we ever did with Melvin, he actually brought up this topic. So, the UN sits down, what was this, 2 days ago, and starts to begin the discussions about reparations and sat down at the table. Melvin, inform us, tell us what's going on, and what exactly are reparations, and who are they to?
Okay, reparations is just a plan to repair a damaged party in any event, right? So specifically, what the UN is talking about is reparations for blacks in America, descendants of slaves in America, right? There was a plan on the table before Lincoln was assassinated. Of course, that got ripped up, but I think that was in the form of what they tokened it 40 acres in a mule, but it was much more than 40 acres in a mule. It was the southeast east part of America, from Florida or maybe from Virginia all the way down to Florida. We were supposed to have all that land, and we was going to be somewhat of a sovereign nation as well, kind of how the Indian reservation was, but a little bit better than that. So that got ripped up, and of course we had to go into sharecropping to eat, because everybody who had a business was white Americans, so we had to either buy from them or work for them to get paid. So it was pretty much a different form of slavery, but it was called sharecropping. So I say all that to say this: the UN has been talking, and the UN has a chapter or branch of the UN called the Human Rights Council. And for the last 3 or 4 years, they have been talking about the plan for reparations for Black Americans. Those talks was kind of going under the radar. And of course, that the U.S. withdrew themselves from the Human Rights Council. They said they withdrew themselves because of differences that Israel was having with other parties inside the Human Rights Council, but they withdrew themselves right after the pressure came for these reparations. So you can kind of take that with a grain of salt or take it for what it is. We don't.
What year did they withdraw?
I think 2017.
Because it was right around the time too of the Paris Accord. Because that was right. Pretty much that year after Trump's election. America wanted nothing to do with the UN. They basically wanted out of it. They were part of one of the biggest contributors to starting the UN, and then they were like, I don't even want to be a part of this no more, which was quite honestly sad, because again, they don't want to listen to the outside world criticisms of them and what's going on and how they should handle the situations, and make for a more racially diverse and fair world. But they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that.
And that's when it started to come up, when that whole change was coming, they seen it in 16, like Dev just mentioned. That's how we came to meet. Well, we met Melv, but we got you on the episode that specifically talk about that. That's when it started coming up again, because they were seeing all the talk from the campaign of what Trump was doing, and they're like, and it got on their radar again. So they're discussing it, and I'm sure it didn't go too far. It wasn't high on the agenda, but it was something that somebody was up there trying to push. And now that this comes out again, it lights the fire where they're like, yeah, we need to look into this. Now that this has become global, you know what I mean? It's a global attack. Like, if you look at it, this is the biggest thing we had in history. All 50 states and 18 countries are out there fighting for this thing. We know it's a political organization with the Black Lives Matter and all that. So you got to take a lot of that with the grain of salt also too. But the movement behind that right now is so strong, bro. It is strong. It has everybody shook in politics, business, everything, because they're seeing how the power is growing. One, because a lot of people are just fed up, and plus how they're being funded and stuff like that, and how they're presenting it. Because we know they have agenda. We don't know what it is, but they're using that very well right now to get people all riled up. And I think that, like, something's going to happen if you get the people in UN that are like, the whole world's talking about this. Maybe we should look at this. You know what I'm saying? So, and plus the United States, like Bedev mentioned, was part of this. They helped. It was discovered by like the United States and the other four, like Russia, China, and somebody else. I think those are the big four. But in San Francisco in like 45 around World War II, and we are like the biggest contributor. You got to play like a membership to be into the UN. It's like a private club. They're supposed to be holding peace, and the United States paid 22% of that, which is the highest. The only thing close, I think, is like 11% is like China, I think, like that. So that was the reason they said they pulled out. Also, they said they were paying a lot of money for nothing. Like, they weren't doing anything. Like, they weren't caught helping with any of the peace talks. They were still focused on Israel. So I think a lot of things went into that. And plus, they don't have a great, like, there's a lot of concerns coming from people, from different types of people about the UN, about what they really are doing. Because if you look at the leadership, it's like the people in the power position, it's the wolf watching the hen house. Basically, they're basically making money grabs when they, or getting the information they need to make those. So it's one of those things like, is it going to are they going to really do something? That's why I don't think it gets too much traction at the beginning where it's at right now, because of people's like the way they look at the UN. So do you think that the UN really is out here doing those things that they say? I don't know, like the things that they're saying they're doing.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a lot of different viewpoints in there as well. So I don't know how well they can agree and get things done. I mean, look, we having trouble within America with just two political parties, with Democrats and Republicans agreeing to get a bill passed. So I mean, imagine all these different countries trying to meet together, and you got language barrier, you got cultural differences. Like I think Obama was trying to push being more liberal in their approach in Africa with LGBT and gay rights and all that stuff, and that's just not their culture. The African leaders was like, look, just don't push that agenda on us. So it's so many barriers in there. It's kind of hard. And when I watched the live feed for the actual, it was token as a debate or discussion of reparations, you could already see the divide in there, because this was pushed by the African nations, and every spokesman that spoke either was on one side or the other. One was saying this is very serious, we need to do something, and the other side was like, yeah, it's serious, but we have social injustices all over the world. So you seeing they're taking a holistic approach to it, which means nothing is going to get really highlighted and actually combated. When you take that approach to it, you're not actually doing something. So it's a lot to it.
Well, I was going to say, for one, I mean, there's several points I want to address from both of what you guys said. So, for one, it doesn't matter. I hate when people do this silly fallacy of, oh, yes, the UN did these things, so they're not allowed to say the right thing, right, for what America should do. And I have to be honest with you. I mean, if America can't even agree, like Americans can't even agree if climate change is a thing, and they can't even agree if racism's even a thing anymore. Is it even real? Is there a systematic racism? Is it, there's people literally making that debate within Congress. I mean, literally making that debate. So how, of course, could we even begin discussing the idea of reparations when you have people within your and again, and the party, the Conservative Party, which is now at the helm of your political office and runs the free world right now. That's who has control of this country, the Conservative Party. When those people are at the helm, tell me, how are those decisions going to be made? I mean, we could talk about Africa and how there's cultural barriers because, for one, a lot of evangelical Christian pastors have made made a lot of trips to Africa, and like you were saying about LGBTQ and all that, have made trips there, and they actually have, because of the teachings of the Bible, have radicalized some of those people to where they kill people that are gay in those countries because of those beliefs. Even though they're not the right beliefs to have, right? They still went and did those things. I mean, there's a lot of damage done from all of the cultures, from our culture trying to influence black culture. So again, it's almost damn near impossible for us to have the conversation until America does the house cleaning right now within this country and takes care of the immediate problems, like right now what we have going on with police brutality and the situation in Atlanta and all of those things, and acknowledge racism and all that. Before we can even have the reparations discussion, we have to handle that, because then once we accept that truth, then we can talk about reparations. Then we can talk about how we're supposed to get people paid and how we're supposed to give those things out. I agree they're due, but without that, you're not going to get the support of everybody, I don't think. And
Right.
which I don't think you're ever going to, but I mean, we have probably a 40 to 30% of our population who probably doesn't even understand that idea, and yeah, so that's all I wanted to say.
No, that's all facts right there. That's all facts, and and just for people who are probably frowning up at the thought of reparations, because I think the first thing that comes to your mind is, no one that's living now ever owned a slave, or no one that's living now ever was a slave. And the second thing that comes to their mind is, why would white people have to pay black people reparations when they never owned any slaves? And you got to take it away from it being so personal. It's not white people paying black people. It's America paying descendants of slave and trying to repair what slavery, Jim Crow, and what we had to fight for civil rights, and what all that has damaged the descendants of slaves. So it's not personal. It's not white people paying. It's America paying, and America consists of whites, blacks, Asians, Hawaiian, Filipino, and a whole plethora of people. So it's just not a white black thing.
Yeah,
right on.
You definitely gotta, like you said, Dev. You gotta face some of those things that are up front right now, and that's where they're at right now. This is the part right now that you can't take your foot off the gas. Like whoever's doing what for the cause, what part you do, whether it's out protesting, whether it's out doing legal help work, whether it's out trying to help get legislation changed, all those things need to come together right now, and don't take the foot off the gas, because you can feel the pressure. You can see the pressure. We see it from like if somebody has that view of that right view that says, like what Mel just mentioned, like we're not saying white people have to pay, like just give us, just do. You know what I mean? Right. I see Dr. Boyce Watkins saying the other day, like he's saying in the 14.7 trillion. And I think that's low, to be honest, like if we counted up like how much people.
17 point what trillion?
14.7 trillion. Right. And some land and, some other things in there. But I think that's kind of low, because if you look at all the money that was made and all the people's families that have been built off of generation off of that move, off of slavery, and then it gets to the people where they have that question. I don't even answer that question no more, Mel. Or why do we didn't own? I just look at them like, you got to do research. We're not looking for you to do it. Looking for America to just say, America won't even admit. They won't come out and say, yeah, we messed up. Let's sit. That's all it takes. Like you would have a cool, but the thing is though, that's those things that going on, them symbolizing things. Yeah, we'll talk about it, and then we sit down for a minute, take our foot off the neck. You know what I mean? And then it doesn't go anywhere, and then we get distracted by other things. So
that's why they want sports to come back so bad.
Yeah, I truly.
That's why they want it back. Get the ring. They rather pay for the rings than for us to really focus and actually figure out our issues. Like, oh, wait a minute, we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Get it done. Yeah.
And it's just not America. It was Africa. It was Rome. The Catholic Church. The Vatican had some stuff. The Pope had his hand in it as well. So I mean, when we have this conversation, it needs to be all parties that did damage sitting down and saying, okay, what are we going to do to help repair? And yeah, Africa owes us a nation and some land. So because they had their part in it as well. America owes us. Just like any divorce, some type of alimony. So they would be paying some of that $1 trillion. And then Rome owes us everything that was stolen from the libraries and artifacts and gold during the Crusades. And, we want to open up the history books because there's so much stuff that's in the Vatican that's locked up that no one can ever see that tells a lot of truth about who the people are that was taken during the translated slave trade. So I think they owe us that as well. Redo the history books, tell it the right way, give us a knowledge of self, let us know who we are, restore all of that, right? And Rome owes us some money as well. So America don't have to front the whole bill of the 17 trillion or the 20 trillion. Split it in half with I think Germany is still paying for the whole.
Holocaust
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. I mean, it's and they receive and I love my Jewish brothers and sisters. They got Israel as a nation in 1948, and they kicked Palestine. Just to be honest, Palestinians was living there and they had to move so they can get that land. They got a sovereign nation. They have an army. They still get reparations. They repaired what they did. And remember that Holocaust was how many years? 4.
Yeah, well,
right.
It was a little bit before the actual war, so it was probably closer to like 6 or 7 years because there was and of course you have to think about it like this. It didn't just start with genocide because there was apartheid where the Jews were treated like second-class citizens for several years before the actual genocide started. Right. So I mean, we had to think about it like that. So yeah, probably over the course of like 10 years, and they're still paying reparations.
So we're looking at 10 years, and we help in America, Germany, the UN, all help restore the Jewish people and give them land and still give them reparations for about 10 years of damage that they caused. Now think about 300 years of damage that was caused, and it's still ongoing for the Black Americans and So
I have to ask this question because this is the truth. I mean, like we're talking about 10 years worth of things that happened to the Jewish people. I mean, do you ever think that the bill could be too big where it's never going to be enough? I mean, I think it's never going to be enough no matter what. But I have to ask you guys, what do you think is a number? What is something realistic that makes you go, yeah, I think that this can help the Black American generation now recover from those effects, and then we can move on, because I think that's what's going to happen at the end of the day. So I'm kind of curious what you would think.
That's above my pay grade. Like I would have to sit down with a lot of people.
I'm just saying, like this is not. You have to know the science, the specifics, the everything. I'm just saying, like a ballpark in your mind, in your head. Like, what's a number, and what are things that you think could, like what would you want to see implemented from the reparations that would make you say, okay, this feels like it's enough? Because at the end of the day, again, I don't think it's ever. No amount of money is going to be enough for 300 years of this, and it's not going to bring back the people's lives that were basically indentured to white people for their work and labor. By the way, Melvin, I hate you right now. Just know that. It is pouring down rain outside of my house, and I hate you. Just know that. I hate you. While you smiling as the sun comes in the window of your house, I hate you. But anyway, regardless, that's all I had to say was that, again, I want to ask that again. What is the right number?
I don't know. It's something I can't pinpoint. I'm not going to sit here and try to pinpoint without having a discussion with people that actually put out the things. I could say what I've seen, that it's going to be up in like around that mark of 20 trillion cash to start putting that out in payments, like in that manner. I know you're going to have to give up some land because some of the stuff you stole. I think you should give back the patents that you stole all those years.
Who do you give the land to?
You got to figure that out. That's
right.
the thing that
like,
you
I'm
can't.
saying, because I'm just saying, like, if you give land to people, I think people are going to be asking, like, well, wait, why does this, like, I can see it within the culture already. I mean, we already have Candace Owens walking around. I mean, you're going to have black people that are going to be like, wait a minute, why do they get this piece of land and so on and so forth within their
She's
own
gonna have to
community?
get it
I
too. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
I'm
she's
just
gonna
I'm
have.
just I'm just curious is all. It's like I'm asking questions that I think would be interesting
the
to know.
the blueprint is what happened in 1948 with our Jews. They got a plot of land, and people started migrating to it, and they set up their own government there in their own nation. What was better about that is the Jews were intact as far as what they believe, what their religion is, what their
As a
structure was
culture,
going to
right?
be.
They were more
Right, as a culture, right, and we're so compartmentalized and divided, and how we have assimilated over here in America, and then you got so many people on the left, so many people on the right, then you got this, and that. It's so many different things. So we would have more
Well,
problems
it's
to
a
try to
big
work out.
nation too.
Yeah.
That's a thing. I mean, we're such a big nation that we have a multicultural system. Like I
Hmm.
always talk about, is like people on the East Coast are not the same people as people on the West Coast. They
Right.
got different. I mean, they really do have different beliefs and liberal ways of thinking and all these different things, just like the South and the North. I mean, if you go to somebody down in Louisiana versus someone in North Dakota, they're probably going to have a totally different attitude. So, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
different thing. I mean, Israel, like the people of Israel and the Jewish people, I mean, they were congregated. I mean, they were together. Their culture was
Hmm.
intact. And the black culture has been spread out from Africa beyond to the entirety of the world. I mean, which that also could be said of the white culture too, because leaving the leaving Europe versus America. I mean, I would say Europe and America are two different
Culture.
cultures.
Every
But
culture, if you're out of your element, you're going to you're going to come back to your country. If you left as an immigrant at 20 and you came back at 35, you're a totally different person.
yeah, exactly.
You're
Yeah,
gonna look at
where you're brought up at. I mean, you're going to be exposed to a different culture as a
Yeah.
person. So I only say all of that to say this, that it's hard to unify and then say, well, then how do we, like, it makes it harder to say as a unify as a race, as a people, and as a country even, to say we need these reparations paid, and what does that look like? Because
Um.
everybody's going to have their own piece. I'm not, again, I'm for reparations. I'm just saying, like, these are things
Yeah.
that I think make it hard.
Well, see, this the thing though, Dev. I think, like you said, there's no dollar amount that, I mean, whatever it is probably not gonna be enough. But one thing's for sure: if you get anywhere in the ballpark of being enough, it's going to change, and it's going to be a totally new United States of America. So I don't know if the price is too high for America.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I
For
totally
America to
agree.
do it, it changes so much, right? It changes everything. Now you're making the minority too high in class. You
even.
know, right?
Yeah,
And
even.
and that changes America. That's not what America was built on. The minority never is supposed to rule the
Yeah.
majority. It's just that's just. I mean it. And I get what how the U.S. looks at it. Like, look, we have you're 13% of the population. There's no way we're going to put you at a status that's equal or better than us across the board. That's just I
Yeah.
don't know nobody that'll do that. Who, if you're king of the hill, who has ever came down and was like, all right, I'm tired of being king of the hill. You have to.
Just getting
That's right. So
gonna get
they're never going to pay a amount that is going to be sufficient enough to change the status of Black Americans. They're never going to do that. So what will they agree with, and what probably will happen? One, we'll never agree on reparations. What's probably going to happen is,
I think they'll just let enough time pass that, like, the black people will get up in a stature where they can finally say that you guys are equal now, after all that time.
they've
And
been saying that though,
right,
bro.
right,
Saying that
yeah, they're always gonna say that,
68.
but I'm saying, like, they're gonna get up to like a point where they're gonna say, oh look, like they're just gonna hold it off as long as possible. I
mm-hmm,
think. I mean, until
yeah,
it never happens. I
right.
think it can happen though, because if you have people like I think there's a rise in awareness in the culture, not just in the black community, but also in the white community and all of the cultures and communities of this nation, that are aware of these things and are now saying these things need to be made public and these things need to be changed. And again, I agree with you because I could see that. I could see the American citizenry saying like, well, we're going to elevate a whole class of people, right?
Yep.
Just out of our pockets, right?
Right.
Which at the face of it, it doesn't sound too good. I mean,
Right.
even coming in front of my mouth, it doesn't sound too good. Like, you know, it sounds kind of cheesy, not cheesy, but like chintzy, and like it feels a little unfair. But
Right.
at the same time, you have to understand that you guys, and you still are, like, it's not this 50 years ago to today, we've made strides, but we're still not there, and still black community is recovering from slavery, and they are not the same. They were not at the same footing, economically speaking, when they got here. So
Right.
you have to at least give them the opportunities and the capital in a capitalist society to get to that level. And don't just say, oh, pull you up by your bootstraps, which, by the way, I hate that phrase because it's impossible. How are you going to pull yourself up from the part of your body that's planted to the ground? But I digress. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, it's a
Sorry for ranting.
It's a tough uphill fight. Like, you got to look at it like negotiating. That's all it is. It's going to be a negotiation. Now, what I'm saying is, like, where it's at right now, if we don't get distracted and keep going and let this thing grow to where it's going to go, because I'm telling you, this is totally different than any that they've seen before. You're going to actually have to hurt a bunch of white people to stop it from happening. And they're not willing to do that right now, bro. They're not willing to do that right now. So that's why you're getting so, and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing. So the conversation is going to have one day, because you can see it in the Republican Party that they're shook. You can see it in the Democratic Party. They're shook. The Black Lives Matter movement is actually stronger than both of them right now. They're just supporting the Democrats right now. But if they broke away from what they're doing right now and say, right now, today, with the independent, and they had the budget and everything, and say somebody like a Mark Cuban and The Rock ran right now, they would win. Right now, today, they would win.
That's bad. Yeah. I think it's getting to that point. Yeah, I think celebrities just gonna start throwing their name in the box, man, and winning. Because I mean, that's pretty much what President Trump just did. And he just jumped up and had social status and was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, idiot and turd sandwich kind of thing. I mean, but I want good informed politicians. I don't want celebrities in there. Like, I really do. Like, I really want good informed politicians to have these positions. But the problem is I feel like those guys never make it to the ballot. And again, we talk about you know, the conspiracy is, you know, you got puppets. By the way, Coach, I got to read this comment because, you know, we've been getting some trash talk, but this one's just funny to me. It says, Coach smells like smelly 4-day-old bread. 4-day-old bread. Yeah, like do you keep, like, what does bread go bad 4 days in?
Let me guess who that is. That chick?
Yeah.
Man, don't even read that stuff, bro. If nobody handles it, just let her go. Mm-hmm. I don't have energy for that
right.
shit.
No, I'm just saying. I just thought it was funny because it said smelly 4-day-old bread. But like, doesn't anybody have bread in their house for longer than 4 days?
Yeah. That was.
Yeah, it's corny.
But anyway, but I was just saying that. Oh, sorry, Coach. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where it's at. It's going to be a negotiation of people getting the right people in there and trading the mics, because you look at the numbers. You got to get those numbers right. The system, it's the system. You got to get people in there that are young with fresh ideas that have these kind of things. Look at what we're voting in right now. Donald Trump and Biden. Look at those two, bro. Look at them. That's the best America has to offer. And what do you have to be, like 40 to run for president? Like, you have to be that age, I think. We don't have no smart, intelligent, forward-thinking people in that age bracket that could pop up and give us a new, fresh thing. But we know what it is. There's a lot of stuff. That's why I think the system's so screwed. We have to tear the system down, where they just find ways to keep it going that same way, and they'll spend a lot of money just for us not to get ahead. And when we say we're speaking reparations for black people, but white people are used. Everybody's used to that power structure. They don't care who you are. They're going to make you a little higher than the black, because you always need you need the bottom of the barrel. So that's what they're using. They're saying we're the bottom of the barrel, and white guys you're just above it if you're not in that boys club. But they'll make you feel to put other people down to do the work for them. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're dealing with right now, and that's some sick, actual genius shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to stand up and really fight that. They're just pointing at the smaller scale where we're pointing at each other instead of going after that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I said the last thing we need is people that's no matter what your ethnic group is, that's if you're in my tax bracket, we're on the same team, and we really have to be keep the press on the government to do the right thing, because you got to think about it, like these people get in government and they're invested in the very things that they make bills and laws for, that's going to bring them money. So they're in politics just to figure out how to separate us from our money and put it in their bank account. And it's weird. I can't remember which president's wife had a huge stock in the company that made body bags during Vietnam, and those body bags was used to collect bodies, and they got rich off of it. Same thing with the oil industries with Bush. Same thing with Cheney and the vendor companies. Like they will declare a war and be getting paid personally. That's a conflict of interest. Like, I don't even know how we're allowing this. Same thing with the private prison industry. Like, you got people heavily invested in private prisons, but also making rules to grab people and give them max penalties in prison to make sure that these prisons are full so they can get paid and get that government subsidies and get those money. That is crazy. We allow politicians to make rules and benefit financially for it.
Right.
I can't understand it.
That is at the core of one of the tenets of fascism. I mean, that your corporations and your political oligarchs are in cahoots. So they're making laws that are the benefit the corporations of America. I mean, and that's the thing, is they're paying the bigger percentage of the profits to these politicians. They have the money and everything. So really, we get screwed at the end of the day. They don't care, because it's like, well, these people are paying the interest, right? And, this is just a talking point that I think we've talked about so many times on this show about lobbyists and all these different policymakers and whatnot. But, just to go back to what Coach said about the system, I mean, again, and he said, like, Black Lives Matter wanted to run as like a political campaign, but I mean, the system in itself, you can only, in certain states, for the presidential election, you can only register as one of the two parties. That's it. You have to register one of the two parties, and even at the local level and everything else. I mean, there's certain laws, I'm sure, for other states where you have to register as one of the two parties. You don't have to, but there's laws, and it's crazy. It's like, why in this country, if we're gonna, and that's the problem again too, is that we have a democratic system, and the democratic system doesn't always work because they control the cards for it. I mean, again, I don't know what you call for at the end of the day. But we're trying to do this the right way. But it feels like every time you get somebody up there, that's trying to do the right stuff, they're either killed, they disappear, or they have their whole campaign falls apart. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. We got some pictures of you, buddy. Don't ever run, bro. Don't ever run for office, Dev. They're gonna pull some pictures
Listen,
out.
bro, I live my truth. They can pull up. What are they gonna do? They're gonna pull my porn history. Go ahead.
You gotta live. Bro,
yeah, I said, like, go ahead. Pictures of what? You ain't got nothing. Whenever we run, don't worry. We'll be running for mayor in what, like, what's the next mayor election around here? We said about it. We're running for mayor. I'm running for mayor, Melv. I'm running for mayor of my town 2 years from now.
Hey, you got my vote, man. I'm in there.
He's like, I'll get you. He's got my vote from all the way over there. Yeah, do some voter fraud stuff for us. I'm just.
Yeah, no, I come move over there and register.
Yeah.
To register and move back. You don't want to move here, bro. Yeah. You do not want to move here. You just want to come, vote, and then move back.
Yeah. Because trust me, bro. It is storming right now. Like, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it is storming outside of my house. I mean, thunder.
I'll be back on the East Coast when I retire, man. I'm going back to North Carolina, so it won't be as bad as New York or Pennsylvania, but I get the 4 seasons just like y'all do.
Yeah. Well, so we're getting close to the end of the show, so I want to wrap it up with this little segment. This is something I wanted to bring to the table. So there's a movie coming out called Cracker.
Oh, man. Go ahead.
Well, all I wanted to say was that now it actually said series when I watched the video, and I can't actually find a real trailer, so it almost leads me to believe that maybe this is one of those like mock films where they're putting out an idea for it?
Nah, it's going straight to Amazon Prime.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep.
Well then, regardless, this is what I was gonna say. I would want to see it. I would
So
want to watch it. I'm just being honest. I mean, I know it could for some people it's probably going to be like, oh, I don't want to see that and everything, but I think it could put things in a perspective. And also at the same time, it looks very serious, but if I took it like a comedic stance, I felt like it could have been like a funny thing to actually
it could.
watch.
So let me compare it to this. Have you ever watched Django with a black friend?
No, never with a black friend. I've never watched.
Have you ever watched Roots with a black friend?
No.
You don't even know what
I've
Roots
never
is.
watched Roots, bro.
Right. Okay. So, slave movies, right? People getting whipped, people getting called the N-word, people getting raped. You see all those atrocities. You see all of that stuff, right? Watching that with your black friend, I'm going to tell you they're going to be looking at your reaction, right?
Yeah.
How do you react to what you're watching, right? And if you are enjoying it, I'm probably going to be mad. I went to go see Django while I was in Guam with my wife, and Guam is a lot of Chamorros. You got your mix of Japanese people there. You got your mix of Filipinos as well, and and
Stuff, yeah.
right. So, but imagine being in a movie theater in Guam, and then it's a sprinkle of white people that's probably in the military in there watching Django with you, and they found it funny, because the way they Quentin Tarantino did it, there's some funny parts in there, but it might not be funny to me. And even if it is funny to me, it's almost like me laughing at my brother or my sister, but you better not laugh at her. You get what I'm saying? Right? Like if me and Dev was brothers and brothers, and Lauren, you're picking on him the way I pick on him at home, I'm going to take offense to that. Right? So laughing at that is really it's kind of like a fine line for people that are not from their community. I would feel the same way. I would be embarrassed to watch this, knowing that somebody of my ethnicity directed this movie and put it out there. I couldn't watch that with you, Devin. You get what I'm saying? Like how do I feel comfortable and watch this? I get the artwork and it got me thinking. It's the same exact concept as Planet of the Apes, but it would have been very irresponsible for them to make those apes black people back in the 70s and 80s when Planet of the Apes came out, right? They had to use apes, but I get the artistic part of that movie. They're really talking about if black people really rise up, and that's kind of, I guess, on the conspiracy side of the house, because nobody's ever confirmed that that's what that is about.
Yeah, I was going to say, but go ahead.
Yeah, but if you look at it, that's really a depiction of if black people ever rose to power, would they enslave white people the way that white people enslaved them? Would it happen? Planet of the Apes is a depiction of that, right? Yeah. So this movie Cracker, or this new series Cracker, I'm uncomfortable for it. I don't know if I would watch it. Maybe it piqued my interest enough just to tune in to like the first episode, but I couldn't be a constant viewer of that whole series. I hope it crash and burn. I just because my people was enslaved don't mean I want to see a depiction of somebody else people enslaved. Right. So, I mean, kudos to them for trying to be an artist. And I get artwork is artwork. I hope they don't get a lot of drawback from it. And I hope it don't cause any type of division. But yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's going to cause problems. We already seen it on a small scale. This was done by Irv Gotti in the episode of Tales from the Hood, or whatever his series is called. He did, because he takes music. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Melv, or you're familiar with it, Dev. He takes songs from the older schools, like he took NWA's F the Police, and he turned around and he switched it around where it was all black officers going after white kids. If you know when that song was made, it was about the LA, it was the Los Angeles Police Department on how bad they were treating black people in Los Angeles and in Compton and all that, Boys in the Hood, that whole era. And he did use that song as he breaks down the song, and he did it. And it caused a lot of backlash from people being like, how could you put this out? Blah, 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 blah. But it was like the most viewed of that series. So I think it would be a good thing. I think it would have to be limited. It couldn't be something that they're going to try to stretch out for 4 4 or 5 seasons. It has to be like 10 episodes and call it a day and see, stir that up. Because if you make it a weekly thing, bro, and where people are like making YouTube channels viewing it, it's going to cause problems bad. That's my view take on it. It would be nice to see, though.
Yeah, my take on it is, so like there's several things I'll address here. So like for instance, during the movie Django, I gotta ask this because I have to be honest with you. This is the funniest scene to me in that movie, was the part with all the KKK guys in the mask and he's trying to figure out what to do with the mask or whatever.
That was funny.
Yeah, okay. See, okay. So at least we agree on that part that's funny because
that is it. But look at the comedian they had in there, Noah Jonah Hill. Come on, man.
Was it Jonah
Come
Hill?
on, man. That dude is freaking. I wouldn't even be surprised if he wrote that scene. That was hilarious. That was hilarious. But
don't ask me and mine's for nothing.
yeah, that was pretty funny, man.
All right, this time we do it no bags, but then next time we do the bags right. But anyway, regardless, no. What I did want to say is that this is the perspective that it's hard for some people to get a hold of. I think because I think there are white people out there that if they saw it from that perspective, like if they really saw it that way, for even just if it was just in a trailer, like they saw the trailer and then it encouraged them to do the research and look into things. I mean, it could flip their perspective. Now, is there going to be a crap ton of people that are going to be offended? Absolutely. And I even think that it could be bad because what it could do is help encourage people that are on the white nationalist side, but you have like your black nationalist side people who they're the basically your black racists, right? Who like they don't want to work with the white people. White people are bad kind of people. It can help encourage that by watching that stuff and like pulling those hateful behaviors out. And I think that just it doesn't do good in the long scheme, perhaps. But I think that it's an interesting artistic idea. And honestly, I want to see it. I want to see it just to see how they play it off. And I think Coach is right, too. You can't make 5 seasons out of this. I can't have a weekly recurring thing where I have to go see where Jonah's at now and did he escape from the black slave owners, because that's just pointless. And really what it is at the end of the day, it seems like not a gimmick, but like an art piece, like a movie. I think it would have been better as a movie, in my opinion. Where you just have this as a film, a one-time thing. You watch it, you sit down, and you're like, yeah, like I understand it. You get the message. Because what's a definition of an artsy movie? Mother. Have you ever seen Mother?
I don't think I have. No.
Jennifer Lawrence. Is it Jennifer Lawrence? No, it's not Jennifer Lawrence. Oh goodness gracious, the girl who was in Hunger Games.
It's for Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. Oh, okay. I thought I had it wrong. I don't know why. But yeah, Jennifer Lawrence is in it. And that movie was just a pure art movie. And it was just talking about, it had like so many symbolisms in it. But it was one movie. It told all of its crazy narrative and what the world's like and everything else. It told its narrative and it was done. And I think that's what this really needed to be. And I'm hoping, like I said again, I am hoping that it's handled with care. Like it shows these serious parts. We get that story, that information, and then it's done with.
I don't know what the motivation for making it was. I mean, I know what the motivation for making the Nat Turner movie because that's history, right? So telling the Nat Turner story ruffled some feathers as well, even though it's a true depiction of something that happened, right? But just the optics of black people doing slavery, having an uprising and killing white people, killing kids, so they can break loose from the plantation. That actually happened, and to see it caused some problems. They had to have a whole smear campaign against the person who directed this movie just for people not to go see it. And I think they pulled it out of the theaters as well. So they pretty much boycotted the movie, and you just had to find a way to go watch it. Now imagine this depiction of something that's fiction. And you're doing somewhat of the same thing that Nat Turner was. You get what I'm saying? Like it's just not gonna go over well. And I'm interested to know what the motivation was.
Yeah. And what's gonna happen, especially in the temperature right now, where things are going right now. And what I didn't see the exact date when they said to drop it. If anybody's seen that, that's very key too. Because if they drop that at a time, the simpletons of this world are gonna be like, they're trying to make us slaves. They're gonna react to that. We're gonna have our heads on swivel it's got to be spinning all day long. We're not going to be able to enjoy our day. That's a concern of mine too, right there. Like you said, what is the motive of this? I want to see the masterminds that sat down. Whose money's behind this? Who,
right.
who's got the creative control? Who's saying this is how we're going to deliver it? I want to see those people and
Who
see what
approved
their
it?
intentions are.
Like how is it getting on Amazon Prime? How's it getting on Prime? Who approved it?
Amazon's going ham, bro.
Yeah. I do want to add this in here too, because you're saying about the motivation. My guess is because it is a series, and the trailer from what I saw like some kind of white supremacist character get transported from modern day into the like this alternate reality where this is taking
Planet of the
place.
Apes.
Yeah, like Planet of the Apes, right? So whenever we're watching it, we're like, like I think the whole concept of the series is going to be we're going to watch this white nationalist go through all of these things and witness these things and deal with these things. And then by the end, he's going to come back to reality and be like, oh my God, why did I believe all of those things?
That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be bad.
And that wouldn't, I don't think
that
it would be bad.
That's it.
But I think you could have easily done it in a movie, and I think they're going to show it too much where it's going to be like overdone. I think that's my problem. Because they could have did that in just a movie.
Shot well. If it's shot well with that, with the intention where you could drop those little hints, because you're going to see the same thing. If you're flipping a script, you're going to see the same thing. You're going to be seeing black people helping that dude, helping white slaves. You know what I mean? There's going to be, you know what I mean? It's going to be that type of thing.
Ooh,
it could be shot. Yeah. It could be shot well. If it's shot well, we have to first find out who's doing it and what's the motivation to understand their psyche or why they're doing it.
I'm with y'all on that. Hey, so I guess last thing, because I know y'all trying to get out of here, but do you think, because it's my opinion that the reason why we had so many differences when we're discussing issues of race is because it's hard for me to see your cousin get smacked in the face and have the same compassion for him as seeing my cousin get smacked in the face, right? Like if I come home right now and say, hey, Dev, Lauren's girlfriend just got smacked in the face at the grocery store, you be like, oh, that's horrible, man. We should do something about it. But if I come home and say, hey, Dev, your girlfriend just got smacked in the face at the grocery store, it's a different thing. It's a different thing.
I'd be like, hold on, like we gotta, like, what do we gotta do right now? Like who's getting beat? I guess, yeah. Right.
So that's the piece that we're missing when we see these police killings and all this stuff. We're looking at a person that looks like us in the black community and saying, that's a shame. But I don't know if people that are non-blacks are looking at it and having the same feeling of compassion. And then when we're trying to probe people, like, how are you not outraged? They take the defensive mode and think that we're blaming white people or blaming all police. And now they're trying to defend. They're defending their race and police, and we're saying, look, why are you not compassionate? So seeing something, seeing somebody that look like you go through all these atrocities like slavery, will that turn some people's compassion switch on when they're looking at other races go through it, just from seeing their race go through it? That makes sense?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that was what I said there at the beginning, was I think that might be like the best benefit of it, is you might get somebody who sits down and watches that and because they might go into it trying to hate it or like dislike it or discredit it, and then watch it and go, wow, like, it gives them a whole new perspective on the idea, or because again, I'm a subscriber that racism kind of exists on a spectrum. Like, there isn't just racist and not racist. Like, I think like people have like, I guess, racial biases that kind of like fluctuate, like from the dad who tells an innocent, like the innocent, racist joke to like the white supremacist, like there's a spectrum that it goes in between there to not a racist at all, like basically colorblind, right? Which I think is also kind of a silly thing to say in society, to say colorblind. I hate when people say that. I hate it.
Me too.
But,
Me too.
You see color.
Yeah,
you see somebody coming at you seeing color and you're relating that to how your core beliefs are. That's very simple.
And we have biases based on how we're raised too. I mean, so like again, but the problem is it's for white people to acknowledge those biases, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I think
not just white people, us too.
Oh, black people
us
too, right?
Not just white people.
People have biases. Let me just put that. People have biases, and I think a show like this could help people that don't want to acknowledge them.
Yeah, I think that's what it is right there. It's at that point where people need to say it just needs to, like, I respect somebody walking down the street telling me they're racist. I don't care. Like, you could say, I just don't come to me with this stuff, but I respect you more than you trying to hide behind the same old BS and trying to hold on to it and then keep claiming that you're not. You know what I mean? You can't even have a conversation with me no more after that point. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much, it could be done if it's short, a movie set, or, a couple episode or a couple series, like an episode series, and they shoot it well. I think it could come out either way. It could come out either way. It could be bad or it could be good.
More than 8 episodes, they overdid it. More than 8
episodes. Yeah. It should be a short series. Speaking of short series, right before y'all leave, The Boys. When does it come back? It's on Amazon Prime. Have y'all seen?
You like The Boys? I love that show.
I love The Boys.
I love that show. The Boys.
I'm waiting on it to come back.
It's like it's basically like Watchmen, like superheroes, like if they were like left unchecked and unregulated. Yeah, man, I've been waiting too. I'm like, when's the next season of The Boys come out, man? Damn, that's a great Melv. I'm glad you brought that up because I've been thinking about that like all the time.
One more do go. Oh, go ahead, Dad. Finish.
No, that's it. We were fangirling. Go
ahead. Just before we go, I had one more. I was trying to get this in because I think I'm very curious. I ask everybody I see, but I just don't get like a consensus answer. What's going to happen with Cam Newton?
That's a tough question because I don't know. Like, why? Is he blackballed right now or something? Like,
I don't think he's black.
Like I'm not saying like because of race. I'm just saying like is he ostracized for some reason? Like, why they're not giving Cam a fair shake? Like, is it the injuries? Is it because of his persona? I mean, what is it?
I have no clue. I think it's one of those things. Where his style of play, if it's working, then great. But I don't think a lot of people are signing up for him to come in and be inaccurate at times, and have to rely on his legs sometimes. So I don't see a lot of people signing up to say, "Hey, Cam, come in and let's put in this read option and do all this." And, I think they'd just rather not do it. Now, when he was in this prime of primes and it was working, he was on the top of the game, anybody would sign up for it. But all they had to do is see one season or two of him going injury prone and it not working to say, all right, we out on Cam, and that's what it is. They're just out on Cam. Yeah. But he probably would be one of the first quarterbacks picked up once a starter goes down week 1, week 2. He'd be one of those first ones called.
Yeah. And I think he just has to get in there because first he came out and he was like, I'm not playing backup. He had to realize right away. I'm not saying this go as far as Jameis did, but I think Jameis made a smart to give himself a second chance. At least get a second chance by not just taking that less money and sitting behind Drew Brees and sitting with somebody like a guru like Sean Payton and know you're going to at least get a shot, at least get another shot to get back in there. Cam, he did come out like a week or two later and said, yeah, I'll be a backup. I think it comes into where it's the money part now. Like what was he making? Like 17, 18 million. He wasn't up in the highest brackets of where it's at now. He cannot go in the room and say, hey, I should be up here. He's probably going to have to say, which I hate to say it, but if you want a shot to get on that thing, you're going to have to lower your expectations with money, man. You're going to, and I mean, significantly, he's going to have to probably say, I'll take 10 million to be a backup for a year, maybe even lower than that, to be honest, depending on where it's at. But I think when Lynn came out and said, we'll give him a tryout down in San Diego, I think that's a perfect scenario for him. You got Taylor, you got the kid they drafted out of Oregon, and then throw Kaepernick and Cam in there. Just give them the look. You don't have to sign them. Just give them that look and see which one of those guys can make a fit in there. I think that's the perfect way that either one of them
That
can
would be
get
the
it.
most talked about tryout of the century. Cam Newton and Colin Kaepernick at the same tryout. Like I think that would be the
Last
most talked about tryout of the century. I think as of not
Yeah.
at least the decade. At least the decade. I don't know, but
Yeah.
anyway, do we have anything else, guys?
No, that's it.
No.
All right. Well, then again, guys, we are wrapping up the show. Please feel free to check out Melvin's show, Melvin Wall at Man Down Podcast. I put all the links in the description. Hey, Justin's back. He said, "Hey there." Oh, never mind. I don't want to read that comment. Yeah. So anyway, go check out our boy Melv. Go look at his Man Down Podcast where they talk about sports and all kinds of topics that are very similar to what's going on in the nation right now. Again, their last episode I was just on their Facebook Live was great, fantastic. I even called in. So please give them a look, subscribe, like to their stuff, and also, hey, check us out if you haven't already. Like our page, like this video, comment, tell us what you think down below. But as always, we're getting out of here, so stay beautiful, take care of yourselves, bridging the gap. We out of here. Have a good one. See ya.
Peace.